this is like 3 years in the making, where we had these documentary guys come out, go behind the scenes of where my first office was, what it looked like. By the way, my first office was at my parents' house in the garage. And I just want to take people behind the scenes and like, we're all humans. Like we all there's nothing special about me. Other than I don't quit. I see things in a big picture and I execute.
Hi, I'm Tim Bratz, and every week I sit down with the top influential entrepreneurs in the country to discuss how to leave a true legacy in all things happiness, health, wealth, and wisdom. This is the Legacy Podcast. Welcome to the Legacy Podcast. Today, we're doing a special edition, live version with my boy, Mark Evans. Mark and I have been known each other for over 10 years now. He was the first mastermind I ever joined. I've been in a mastermind for 10 years now and completely changed my life, right? Completely revolutionized my thought processes and a lot of things. And I tell people often, this guy has made a bigger impact on my life than anybody else who doesn't have my own last name, right? So he's become a great friend and talk all the time. We've done tens of millions of dollars of business deals together and got a lot of really good stuff going on. So Mark started out in the real estate space. That's how we started doing some deals. He was flipping somewhere between 30 to 50 houses a month and doing 500 plus houses a year. We started co-wholesaling some things together. We had a turnkey business that supplied some stuff to his business. We took back management, all sorts of things. And thankfully, we both got the hell out of that business a long time ago. And we're not dealing that anymore. And then at the same time, I went more towards commercial and Mark went more towards businesses and flipping businesses. And this guy knows how to generate cash better than almost anybody else that I know. And has really focused a lot on enterprise value over the past few years and is building multiple 8-figure businesses, 9-figure businesses, and consistently has 7- and 8-figure months that are coming in. So great human being. And well, we're going to go into the documentary in a minute, but Mark, welcome, brother.
Thanks, man. I'm always glad. I know this is a special event, but I've always been called special, but short but special.
Yeah, he's very special.
Yeah, exactly.
And so much so. So Mark's got an unbelievable story. I've had him on the podcast before, right? And if you know me, then you probably know Mark because we do so much stuff in conjunction with each other. But you guys know some of Mark's backstory. Raised in Ohio, raised in a trailer, and started his own business when he was 18 years old, and has since built for the past 25 plus years some unbelievable businesses. And he actually has a network, like a Netflix-like documentary coming out on Wednesday. And so, what's the release date? It's Wednesday,
April 24th at 7 p.m.
And so I have it in the links. It's free. Tickets are free to attend. Go ahead and register. There's nothing for sale or anything along those lines. It's a documentary about Mark's journey, lessons learned throughout that process. He actually gives me a cameo. He sent the videographer out and kind of followed me around Charleston, South Carolina for a couple of days and shared some of the lessons that I learned along with a couple of the other guys in Mark's mastermind who have built 8- and 9-figure companies. And so it's a really special documentary. We got to see kind of first version of the release a while back and really pumped to watch this one. So dude, let's start out with that. Talk a little bit about the documentary. What was that process like? What was kind of the vision, the goal for doing that? And some of the lessons learned along the way.
Yeah, man, listen, first of all, thanks for having me. It's always great to hang out with you, obviously. But, I started, I bought a business for $1,000 June 2nd, 1996. So, I didn't know what I was doing back then. I just asked, didn't know what I didn't know. And I just asked, and, it's a no if you don't ask automatically, but there's a possibly yes if you do ask. So, the documentary, yes, it's about me, but it's also about the mindset and the transition from the trailer park mindset. My parents are amazing human beings, work really hard, but they were just so busy working, they couldn't have what we have now, doing a live podcast or learning from guys and gals like all over the world. Like this didn't exist back then. So I was like, hey man, this is like 3 years in the making, where we had these documentary guys come out, go behind the scenes of where my first office was, what it looked like. By the way, my first office was at my parents' house in the garage, right? I lived with my parents. This is phone days. This is where you plugged a phone in the wall and had an answer machine with a recording tape. But I think that, as the world's getting crazier, dude, number one, most people should not be entrepreneurs. If you're not laying in bed wondering how the hell you're going to pay your bills and you're going to pay your employees instead of your bills, you're not an entrepreneur. We've all been there. Real entrepreneurs have been in that moment where they're like, dude, everyone's getting paid but me, and I'm paying them, and I'll figure this out. A lot of people say they don't have enough time to do this. No, they're just not efficient with their time. And I just want to take people behind the scenes and we're all humans. We all there's nothing special about me. Other than I don't quit. I see things in a big picture and I execute. Most people don't think big. They don't execute, but they act like they've done all this stuff. Guys like you and I and many people, everybody I know that's doing something feels like they've never accomplished anything. We're just getting started and all that. So I just want to take people what does it look like? And why are we doing all this crazy stuff? And I know some people work really hard for a couple bucks. And I know a lot of people at work, not really hard, but make a lot of money. So it's why? What is the reason? So we go over 6 tenets inside of that, the mindset and the transition, from troublemaker to deal maker, and, being a bluegill in a bowl, right? Because the fish only grows the size of the bowl. But I wanted to be a great white shark. I wanted to get out and be bigger. And, I'm thankful for where I grew up and I'm thankful for everything I've had. But I'm also dude, there's so much more. How can we help?
But it gives you perspective, right? It gives, if you just came into money and you just built something bigger that was already there, it doesn't give you the perspective that coming from not coming from money gives you, right? And the gratitude, because dude, we have an unbelievable lifestyle. We've done some amazing things. I want to hit on you traveling for the past 2 months throughout Southeast Asia and Australia and Hawaii and stuff, and talk about that in a minute. But where was I going with this? I don't even know. But we have an unbelievable. But we still focus heavily on gratitude. We still focus heavily on being thankful for what we've got and giving back a lot too. You really helped me stretch that muscle of being able to donate and give back and raise money for charities. And that's an instrumental piece because, dude, we have something to compare it to because we don't, forget where we came from, or we come from that blue collar, work hard type mentality. And I'm super proud of it too. And it's just, there's better ways to work smarter versus working harder, So talk a little bit about your travels. Talk a little bit about how you went around the world for the past 2 months. And still ran the business and still collected checks. I remember literally we talked 2 days after you got back and you're like, yeah, man, they just deposited, $1.5 million in my bank account. This is running and this is great. And everything's going awesome. And all these amazing things are happening, even though you're not in the office, even though you're traveling around the world, hanging out with your wife, hanging out with your kids, doing cool stuff, meeting with entrepreneurs. Were you on vacation? What was the difference?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, listen, with all that said, you're still having anxiety attacks. You're still getting overwhelmed. You're still excited. I'm a true creator. I love creating. I love being in the mix. I don't love doing the work day to day. I've always been that way though, right? I've always been thinking about how to be efficient. But me and Dina, before we got married, we traveled around the country and the world for 7 years. Mm-hmm. So that was in 2005 before it was cool. And it was way different to do it. You're booking in Craigslist in Paris and it was just very strange, different. Now it's easy. First of all, it's your fault. I'll be sending you the bill because we're like, hey, we're going to do this event in Honolulu. You want to come and speak? I'm like, okay, let's do that. And then we were talking to the kids and the wife, and she's like, well, we should go to Japan and we should go do this and we should go do this. And it turned into almost 2 months. I'm not complaining. It was just, it's awesome. But we did Honolulu, for 7 days with you guys, which was awesome. And then we went to Tokyo, Kyoto, Melbourne, Gold Coast, Sydney, Christchurch, New Zealand, Queenstown, New Zealand, which was absolutely beautiful, Auckland, and then ended up in Bora Bora. And you feel like a real spoiled brat when you're sitting in Bora Bora 3 days before you're leaving. You're like, I can't wait to get home. When everyone else is there like, dude, I don't want to ever go home. So me, the kids, and the wife were talking about that. We're like, we can't wait to get home because it's like a 18-hour trek home, right? Traveling and just a lot. But, listen, business is still happening. I know for a fact a lot of people are very inefficient at business. They are thinking way more than they're executing. They watch way too much of this, podcasts, videos, audiobooks, and all that. all this energy and effort you could go execute. Yes, you should get a little bit of this, but like, when's enough enough? And they listen to too many people, Tim, right? They listen to you, they listen to me, they listen to Andy, they listen to all these people, and they're just stuck in the mud. They don't know which way to go. So, I always, as you know, we always talk about pick one mentor that you feel like you can align with and stick with them. And then you can build from that. That becomes your foundation structure, and then evolve. If you want to go get more mentors, but you can't have 5 mentors teaching you the same, I'm going to do real estate. Lots of ways to do real estate. Where are you starting from? Where are you trying to go? How big are you trying to get? Who's your team? Like, what are your skills? Like, so that's kind of what the documentary and everything where I'm trying to do is, like, when I'm traveling, I'm like, paying attention to my daily behaviors. Like day 13, dude, I was ready to come back home. I was ready to throw in the towel because I want to be in the game. I love the game. I'm not trying to escape from my life. I love my life. Even the bad. I love the bad because I know to get the good, you got to go through the bad. And a lot of people think, oh my gosh, these guys have it all figured out. Dude, we just deal with crap way better. We have very thick skin. We just, again, gratitude gets you through a lot of crap, right? Being thankful. I can see, I can touch, I can smell, I can talk, I can be here. So I think that's kind of what the message is what we're trying to do is, like, we're all the same people. We all the same 24 hours a day. No one's special. And the truth is, higher up you get, you meet a lot of these people. They just have a couple of traits here and there that are a little different. And that's what I'm trying to learn. Like, how do I grow? How do I get bigger? Because some people work way harder than me, make more, make less, and vice versa. So I'm just trying to build my life.
I think a powerful concept that you and I talked about was, like, you're not on vacation, right? So there's an expectation setting piece here where in your own mind and with your family, right? Like, we're traveling, but we're not on vacation. I still have to work. I still want to take some calls. Dude, I remember, like, you were posting all over social media for 2 months of, like, who's in Japan, who's in Kyoto, who's in Tokyo, who's in Sydney, who's in Melbourne, who's in Queenstown. And you're posting and asking who's there, and you're meeting up with entrepreneurs that you would never meet up with before.
Yep.
Right. And so it gets you into a new circle, gets you into some new connections. People also see the lifestyle, which is awesome on, Instagram or whatever. And you get to travel around with the family. Does it become a tax deduction? Talk to your CPA about that, right? But in most scenarios, probably, because you're still doing business, you're still working, you're still having meetings, you're still, talk with prospective partners and all that kind of stuff. And, like, but you allocate a couple hours a day towards doing that work, and probably with a time frame, you just do it before the kids and the wife wake up, knock out some work, and then you're still with them all day. What was the expectation setting piece with your family, and how did you mechanically still make it work to be able to go travel over to, Asia and Australia and still be able to run the business?
Yeah. Listen, dude, first of all, time's made up. We make time up, right? Like, when I'm traveling and I'm over in, 16 hours ahead, in Australia or whatever, business is still running on East Coast time. The world runs on East Coast time, period. Yeah. No matter where you're at, it's pretty wild. However, morning routines are very important to me. That starts my day. Even back home or anywhere I'm at in the world, it doesn't matter. I'm getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, ideally. Sometimes, with jet lag, you kind of mess that up a little bit. But, like, I'm very stressed out if I'm not getting up by 6 a.m. Because I want to get up. I want to do things before the kids get up. I want to get my mental stuff done. I want to get my walk in 3 or 4 miles. I want to go work out. I want to do things. And I'm not just working out, listening to stuff, making a call, on my walk or whatever. So, I'm like doubling up on some activities, but, like, I'm trying to have breakfast with the kids by 8 o'clock and connect with them and see what's going on. And then, my wife, if she has stuff that she wants to go see, we're not like adventurous travelers. We're not like trying to set 33 things up in one day and squeeze it all in and say we did it just to say we did it. We want time to be memorable, and, like, these moments. So it's not like how much can we do? It's like, what can we remember? So, but, listen, expectations are very important, not just for your family, but for your team, right? I very rarely talk to the team. That's like, if you can't handle it, figure it out. Here's the spending threshold. If something happens up to 500 or 5,000 or 50,000, whatever the number is, whatever level of staff members you're talking to, make a decision. I trust you. That's why you're in the business. It's just like it's like your spouse, right? Like, it's funny to me, like, these guys or gals, it's like, oh, I got to talk to my wife or husband to spend $1,000. I'm like, they don't trust you to spend $1,000. Like you haven't had that conversation. Like, dude, I'm building a business and I can't spend $1,000 without asking my spouse. Is that a lie? Is that, or you're just not a good communicator? By the way, if that's a problem, that's holding you back. Because Tim, you and I are doing massive deals. Like I'm not like, oh, I got to ask my wife if I can sign a contract for $38 million today. No, it's out of context. And of course they're going to freak out because they don't know. They don't even know. So not same on the other side. I don't want to hear about an $800 pool bill at the house that my wife's handling because I'm not, or my assistant or whoever. Just do it. I can't do anything. It's $800. Okay, pay it. Like why bring it into my life? So I think a lot of people, as you know, man, most people are just massive control freaks and they don't have control of anything.
Yep. Dude, I think one of the exercises, and this is awesome for anybody who's listening to do, it's called the island mentality exercise. Yep. So we talked about this when we were in Hawaii because we were on an island, right? And then you hopped over to a bunch of other islands around the South Pacific. Mm-hmm. And so island mentality, you explain it, right? This is, you're the guest. So maybe you can share a little bit about island mentality and putting constraints on yourself.
Well, I wrote about this in the 10-Minute Business Owner years ago. I was sitting on the back of a yacht in the Caribbean, true story. And I was thinking I'm like, dude, I'm on an island and it's in Exumas. So you don't have really good connection and you only go a certain pocket and you can get connection. So I had constraint, internet connection constraint, right? By the way, when you fly, sometimes you can't make a phone call. Does everything die? Does everything collapse around you? What happens? Well, things go on, like life goes on. Things actually figure themselves out and you're fine. And actually you prepare through the constraint because the constraint's real. So you work differently. You work to get shit done, not talk about it, not think. You don't have time to think about it. You have to do it. Why? The plane's taking off at 3:00, no matter what. Are you going to be on it or not? So you create this constraint. So the island mentality is like you have 10 minutes a day. What KPIs, what measurements, what numbers, who's on the phone? And, because a lot of you guys isolate phone conversations, me to assistant, me to vendor, me to seller, me to buyer. Well, maybe everyone needs to be on the phone as a team, as a collective, but, this person's giving us data. What data do you, not me, not Tim, no one, what data do you need to make decisions for the rest of the day to know that your business is moving forward, things aren't burning to the ground? And if they are, like, what's the next solution when you talk tomorrow at 10, for 10 minutes? So a lot of time it just forces you to just be on it. Most of you pussyfoot around like, hey, Steve, how's it going over there? Hey, nice weather over there. There's no constraint. Like you feel like you have all day, and we all know all day goes by like that. So, just getting in the game of life and putting real constraints on it. We all do it, some on purpose, some not. With travel is a prime example. You get more done in the 24 hours building up to the leaving than you did in 3 weeks prior. We all do it. Everyone does it. Why? Because the trip's here, and this happened fast. So,
well, I think it's the power of constraints, and you had shared this, and it never really registered until a constraint got put on me. Remember the deal where I'd raised $4 million, the lender backed out at the last minute on a Friday, and I had to raise it for a Monday closing. I needed $4 million essentially in 48 hours. And the constraint was put on me. The beauty of constraints is that that's where real growth occurs. That's where you really start breaking through glass ceilings and start reaching the next level in things. Yep. And so, hey, what's up, Dad? Hey, my dad and my nieces just showed up. Hello.
There you go.
That's Mark Evans. We're on a live podcast right now, Pops. Thanks for messing
with
us.
What's up,
Pops? Yeah. I thought Penelope was outside. But so going back to constraints. So I had to raise $4 million in 48 hours because the constraint was put on me. But guess what? I broke through some ceilings. I achieved something I had never achieved before and went through this growth, right? And built this new muscle that I didn't have previously. And that's the power of constraints. Dude, it's painful and it sucks while you're going through it, but it's so good for you once you've been through it. The difference here is instead of having constraints put on you, how can you create your own constraints? And that's the power of the island mentality, right? Doing this exercise. So,
Yeah, 100%, dude. What's cool about the constraints too, Tim, is like you don't have time to worry about rejection. You don't have to worry about your pitch. You're so busy making the moves, you're not thinking to think, thinking to think. And what happens is everyone's stutter stepping. I'm going to do it tomorrow. Oh, but before I do it tomorrow, I got to go to the bathroom, and then I got to get coffee. Oh, I got to take this call. It's very important. It's like nothing. Oh, by the way, you're doom scrolling on social media for 30 minutes because you got to get ready. You got to learn the language. You got to get in the zone or whatever BS story you told yourself. It creates like, I think about like if you have a child and you're 20 minutes away and it takes 20 minutes every day, you know the path, but you just get there and come back. Dude, you get a call that your child is hurt or something really bad's happened. You're running red lights. You're running stop signs. You're getting there. It does not matter. It will happen. Get picked up, figure it out. You'll figure it out when it happens. Too many people are trying to figure out before it happens. Majority of the shit you're thinking about is going to happen will never happen. And none of that rejection's good. That's because it's called direction, redirection, new direction. The next step is a yes, yes, yes. Like so many people are worried about it. And again, that's why I love constraints, man. It's just, I don't have time to think about what's going to happen. I'm so busy executing,
Dude, I love it. I love it. And that's what you can do, right? So if you're listening to this, take an exercise, like take 2 hours on a Friday afternoon and sit back and think, if I'm on an island and I have no phone, no internet, no signal, except for 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day, 1 hour a week, right? Wherever you are in business right now. And I keep on creating a tighter and tighter and tighter constraint. And you ask yourself exactly the questions that Mark's talking about is like, who do I need to hire? That's a big one, right? That because all of a sudden, if you have that who to do the what, or the who to do the how, that's a big deal. It can knock over a lot of dominoes for you, right?
That's what you did, Tim.
Yeah. Who do I need to empower? Who do I need to give approval to go and make these decisions? What are the measurements that I need to take to know? What are the key metrics that I need to measure in order to then be able to instantaneously tell the health and wellness of my business? What are the vitals that I need to measure, right? If I walked outside and I get hit by a car, dude, they're not picking up my shirt to see if I got 6-pack abs, right? Or like they're looking for my vitals. Am I breathing? Do I have a heart rate, right? Is there brain activity? Like those are the vital signs. And there's vital signs in business that all of a sudden, get lost in the hustle of going out and doing activity instead of productivity. And so get back to the vital signs. What are the revenue generating activities that definitively put money in your bank account?
Yep.
And what are those activities, right? And the actions, right, that lead to the goals that you want to achieve, right? The goals just there's a lot of variables that can get in the way of achieving the goal, but what's the action item that you can take in order to then get you to that goal that is a controllable item, right? Like how many deals I close for real estate transactions, that's a goal. It's not an action item, right? The action item is how many offers did I make? Because the number of offers you make will then create a ratio of how many deals will close, right? There's always going to be crazy sellers. There's going to be title issues. There's going to be funding issues. There's going to be all this other stuff that pops up. You can't control that. What you can control is how many offers you make. If I make 100 offers and I close one deal, now I have predictability in my business. Now I can get that same predictability that I have and give it to my team,
Yep. Well, Tim, as you know, most people here, the most predictable thing they have is they're unpredictable. They're not doing the work. They're inconsistent, right? So like when you're talking about breaking these things, like, the framework, like the goal versus action to get to the goal, most people, again, I've done real estate forever. So like, as well as you, is like, it's like, dude, no deals are closing. I'm not asking you what your CRM is. I'm not asking all the BS stuff. How's your sales go? Because you're probably not having any. My first question is, how many calls did you make? How many offers did you make? Because if it's 0-0, how deals don't just fall out of the sky. Same thing with raising private money. Dude, it's so hard to raise private money. Cool. How many people did you ask for money this week? That means 0. How many people did you ask this month? That means 0. Do people knock on your door to give you free money? Like, I don't understand the mindset. It's such delusional BS. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me that people don't do the work.
Yeah.
It's like, if I'm teaching someone like real estate, it's like, you cannot call me until you have 200 no's. Mm-hmm. Why? Because guess what happens in 200 no's? There's yeses.
Yeah.
And when you get yeses, you get confidence. And guess what? Inside those yeses and confidence and contracts now, there's going to be no's inside of that because, like you said, title issues, sellers, all these other issues are going to pop up you don't even know exist, right? So it's like 200 no's, 20 yeses, 10 conversions. Cool. Let's go get 200 no's, guys. That now you got your team, and then now 200 no's equals 10 deals. We kind of have a formula now, right? It's literally that easy. And now it's like, okay. And then what most people do, they overcome. Well, how do I get 200 leads? How do I like? That's the problem. You're too busy worrying about the next thing. Let's focus on now. Let's go make call. Go knock on doors. Go call people. Give it like. There's so many ways, and it's frustrating because it's like, dude, it can change your life if you actually get to work.
This episode of the Legacy Podcast is brought to you by the Legacy Boardroom Mastermind. So our goal is to give as much free information away as humanly possible through all of our social media platforms and try to help people with their businesses, help people with their lives. We also have something for people who want more one-on-one attention, which is Legacy Boardroom. Legacy Boardroom is a board of directors for your business. If you are doing up to about $10 million a year in gross revenue, you're making some money, you got some good things happening, but maybe you can't afford a C-suite of executives, of a chief marketing officer, a chief operating officer, a chief investment officer, a chief human resources officer, and you need access to these fractional C-suite executives. That's what this was built for, at a fraction of the price of what you can find anywhere else in the marketplace. So it's my actual team who have built multiple 7 and 8 and 9-figure businesses and real estate portfolios that is available every single day of the week on these daily boardroom calls. So any questions that you have, you can hop on, ask questions about operations to my COO, ask questions about acquisitions to my CMO, ask questions about raising private money to my chief investment officer, or team building to my chief HR officer. So they're available for you 5 days a week. Any questions that you have, any hurdles that you're facing, anything that you need, these guys are available to help you break through any sort of barriers and take your business to the next level so that way you can build a business that is designed to feed your life and your lifestyle. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more, check out legacyboardroom.com.
Dude, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about not having noise. Let's say I dropped you in some city you've never been to. You don't know anybody. You don't have any resources. You don't have a phone. You don't have internet. How would you go and make $1 million inside the next, what would you do to go make $1 million inside the next 90 days?
See, we all have something. I'd sit down real quick with a piece of paper and pen and like, what is my unique ability? What is my offer? Who's my target audience, right? I'm not going to go talk to someone that's sitting on the street that's homeless trying to sell them something, trying to buy their house or trying to sell them a house or try to raise money from them, right? A lot of people are talking to the wrong prospects because they don't know who their prospect is. Mm-hmm. So if we're talking specific real estate, I would literally, all the We Buy House signs, I would get with everybody. I'd go to the real estate networking events. I'd see who the players are immediately. I'd call every title company. Who's the big player? Who's the big player? Who's the big player? I'd call them all. Not one, not two, not five, all of them. And then understand now I'm making it. By the way, every time you're doing that, you're planting a seed with the title company. My name is Mark Evans. I'm a real estate investor. If you know anybody looking to buy or sell. And you're like, why would you call a title company and tell them that? Well, guess what title companies do all day? They close real estate transactions. And oh, by the way, sometimes real estate transactions don't close, often, unfortunately. So you could be a resource, a value add. And you could even ask an extended question. Hey, Mrs. Title Company, if you know anybody that needs help on closing more deals, let me know. Or if there's anything I can offer, I'm here to close deals. Title company don't make money if the deals don't close, nor do investors. And if they think you could be a resource, they put you two together. Now everyone wins. It's a win-win-win situation. So I'd contact the biggest brokers that play in I'm not calling a commercial broker if I'm doing residential and vice versa, but I'd be like, hey, I identify on the west side of Columbus. I want, anybody that's doing investor type real estate agents, not retail, investor type agents, people that are renting real estate in my market and selling stuff to investors. Again, it's terminology. Real estate investor, special, investor special. Talk to these individuals like, dude, I'm brand new in the game. I need help. I need to close the deal in the next 30 days. What do you got? Hook me up. Who should I talk to? Always ask that question. That's like a simple question. That's pretty much anybody. After you talk to them and if you have a good conversation, it's like, Tim, if it's not for you, or do you know anybody that could help me? Right? Genuinely, most people want to help each other. As long as you're professional, and you're talking to people. Most people are like, no, there's no opportunity. And they just hang up and they work harder. Again, that's where you're already working hard. Why not work smart by asking one extra question? Right. So if that's what I would do, and you would have deals done very, very, very easily within 30 days. And then we've got to figure out how to borrow a cell phone, figure out how to borrow a computer. But again, I'm not going to go set up a CRM. I'm not worried about an LLC. I'm not worried about my name of my company. I'm not worried about business cards. I'm going to do the work. And that's what most people don't do, as you know. If I taught 100 people, only 5 people are going to actually take this information and execute it to get a result. Most people are going to they're going to spend 6 months on an LLC name. They got to set it up now, but I can't pay a lawyer, but I'm going to do it myself. And then they mess it up, whatever. And then they got to redo it. Then they got to go get the best looking business cards, and they got to tell all their friends on social media, but they ain't doing any business. They're playing business, but they ain't in business. There's a big difference. Most of you are changing your CRMs every other month because you get excited and you see someone else, and or you're trying to save money. Most of you are spending all your time trying to, call T-Mobile and save $22 a month on your cell phone bill, because that's definitely the way to make a lot of money, saving $22 a month. But these are the action steps that you guys like you and I would do, Tim. We're going to go get the work. We're going to burn. I'm literally going to melt phones. That's what I'm going to do. Shake hands and melt phones until I get a deal. But again, because we work. Most people don't.
Dude, and that's what I wanted to get to, right? So you did a couple things, and I just want to highlight it, is number one, you got clarity. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are just, spraying shit all over the walls and hoping something sticks, and that doesn't work, right? You need clarity of here's what the plan's going to be. Here's what I'm good at. Here's what I like doing. Here's what I know can generate the most revenue in the least amount of time. And you got specific clarity on exactly what that would look like. Then you moved over to focus. Dude, you moved all the noise out of the way. You didn't look left. You didn't look right. Dude, you were just in the zone, only doing the things, which is number 3, which is revenue generating activities. Here's what I know moves the needle. It's prospecting, regardless of your industry, regardless of what your practice is, it's prospecting for deals. It's prospecting for investors. It's prospecting for team members. Prospecting is the revenue generating activity all the time. And dude, you're differentiating yourself also because you're not doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. You're actually picking up the phone and going belly to belly and making a phone call and talking to a live human being and having a real conversation. And it doesn't need to be more complex than that. And it's amazing how much business has gone full circle. It's that was the only way to do business 30 years, 40 years ago. And it's all this noise, and it's come full circle doing knock on somebody's door, man. Go look for a house with tall grass and boarded up windows. Ask the neighbor. It's that simple of just doing the activity, because nobody's doing that now. They're trying to figure out what the mailer they should use, what color postcard, and how big the bold writing should be, and how often they should send. No, just go knock on a friggin' door,
Well, dude, as you know, seriously, when I was deep in the streets, I literally drove the streets 8 hours a day. I knew exactly. You could say, hey, I'm on the west side by a greenhouse and a yellow house. I'm like, cool, you're over on 104 Cypress. I know exactly where I'll be, right there. Because I knew my market. I knew it. I was in it. I lived it. I knocked on doors every day, all day. I shook hands and kissed babies with title companies, lawyers, real estate agents, brokers. By the way, you shouldn't even believe anything Tim and I are saying. Do me a favor and call 20 real estate agents in your market and watch what happens. 10% are going to answer. And then maybe 1 or 2 will call you back. That's the nature of the beast. You know what I do to separate yourself? Answer your phone and call people back. It's real simple. Here's my CRM. This is my CRM still today for me, right? Pen and paper. That's my CRM.
I got the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't mess with it.
Because again, it's everyone's trying to overcomplicate simplicity, and once complexity creeps in, dude, all revenue goes out the window. Yeah. And not only that, if you're in deal stage from 0 to 10, your business should. First of all, you don't have a business. Your activities would look way different than my or Tim's activities, right? It's just different. We have teams now. We've done lots and lots of moving parts and transactions, and we're just at a different level. That's not right or wrong. It's just where we're at and where you're at. So what people forget, they have an accelerated version. Social media screwed this all up. An accelerated version that they think is their version normal, right? Jeff Bezos didn't build Amazon with what it looks like today. That's how long it's taken a long time to get to what it is today. Long time. Lots of money, lots of heartache, whatever. But go call 10 agents, watch what happens. Go, if I'm driving down the road and I see investors, contractors working on property, I stop, talk to them. Oh, that's my competition. No, dude, they're your partners, especially if you don't have any money, especially if you don't have any and I don't care if I'm meeting the vendors. I don't care if I'm meeting the electrician, plumber. These are people working in these things. Hey man, I see you doing the new main water line here. What's that typically run in this market? I'm an investor. Oh, it's $5,000. Cool. Can I get your name? Can I get your number? Yeah. I'm planting seeds. I'm driving down the road anyways. Why not stop, communicate? Most people just drive. I'm gonna do a deal. I'm gonna do a deal today. They're listening to cool podcast shows or Tony Robbins or something, getting excited, and then they go home and then the day's gone, and then tomorrow's gonna be the day though. But this is the problem. This is the difference, man. You and I, dude, we're stopping talking. We could be in a restaurant. It could be loud as hell. And someone's like talking about money, real estate, or whatever. We're like a mouse. We can hear it from a mile away because we're so focused on what we're trying to do. Like we're in the game. And by the way, most people are like this. Probably most people, though, unfortunately, it's about video games, or like the next best iPhone. Dude, you get the new iPhone? Yeah, man, me too. That's the king of the dipshit mentality we talk about. You don't want to be this person. You don't want to be in that club. But do the work. Make 10, 20 calls to agents. Just pay attention to what's going on in the market. It's disgusting, actually. And this is, by the way, that being disgusting to me is an opportunity for people that are hustlers to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Dude, and I think the other thing is like people are so short-minded where they make a handful of calls and they get the no's, whatever. And it's like you're planting seeds. And if you understand the idea of planting seeds, dude, some seeds sprout immediately. Some seeds take time to sprout. And that's when all of a sudden you look lucky down the road because you planted seeds for so long that eventually you took a day off from planting seeds and something still sprouted, right? And you still had a harvest and you still had, fruit being bared on these seeds you planted a very long time ago and cultivated for a very long time, that eventually it's self-sustaining and it's still bearing fruit on an ongoing basis. And so like the idea of momentum is so critical, I think, of like get the ball rolling, right? Start having the conversations with the prospects, whether it's raising money, it's sourcing deals for real estate, sourcing deals for businesses, prospecting for clients, whatever that is, start planting those seeds because it's all about timing. And eventually all of them either will sprout or remove themselves from the equation. So I think that's a critical thing to understand.
No, 100%, man. To me, it's such thievery to yourself and to the people you can help. If you have skills, which we all have different skills, I always love the people. I'm not a taker, I'm a giver. But okay, so why not give to yourself then, right? What they're doing is they literally take the seed of corn, they toss it before it even hits the ground, dude. They're trying to pluck an ear of corn off the stalk. It just doesn't work like that. Just show up. Be valuable, be a conduit of opportunity, a conduit of conversations, a conduit of connection. Let people know what you're up to. Everyone here has value. By the way, I'm not talking about money or not money. Like if you don't have any money, figure out what your value is with no money. By the way, share this. That's value. Comment. That's valuable. Let two of your friends know that this is going on. That's valuable. That doesn't cost anything, right? Leave a 5-star review for your local community, blah, 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 whatever restaurant. That's valuable to them. And you're adding value and they see that and you're doing that. By the way, you're putting that out in the world, the universe, if you will, that this comes back.
For sure.
And I just hate to see good people think that this world is so easy. Like, dude, Tim, you and I've had many sleepless nights, many dry heaving moments, many moments our back are so deep in the corner. We're like, dude, I don't know how this is going to work. We're praying every religion at that point. We become the most religious person in the world. But all of it's like, we want to communicate with ourselves, communicate with others, most importantly, our spouse and family members or whatever, what's going on, spouse in particular, because if not, last thing I want you to do is grow apart. I want you to grow together. And tough times, man, grows people, the right people together, man. So
yeah,
it's not powerful.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on what's going on with the market, what's going on with the financial markets, what's going on with the business markets, what's going on with the real estate markets. What are you seeing? Do you even care?
Well, I don't care because I can't control it, but I can control my controllables, right? So I was just having a meeting right before this, and I'm sitting down with guys that are looking at, massive portfolios, tapes, They love the market, what's going on, because there's a lot of people in default and they can gobble that stuff up. And there's actually a lot of equity. They're buying for 30, 40 cents on the dollar. And I'm talking like anything over 25 million and above. And they're going, and not only, by the way, there's levels of this problem, right? You have the big money guys, and then the shit rolls downhill to the middle level guys, and then to the investors or the borrowers, if you will. So if the borrower goes into default at the same time, the big guy's in trouble, there's a big squeeze in the middle, hence why they'll sell it. So you'll see a lot of times they're rewriting the paper, right? Because you got to remember, the big guys have to have a percentage. They can only have so much percentage in default. But if they rewrite it, magically it's not in default anymore, even though it's still not being paid. And then it takes a lot of time for it to get caught up. And that's what you're going to see a lot of. It's already happening. It happens. And so these guys buy a lot of that paper, and I was looking at their stuff and, whatever. But I think it's a great opportunity to hunker down. I think there's been a cleansing of the talkers versus the doers, obviously, and it's still continuing. And that, by the way, that will always be a thing. But like it's time to, reposition. Recapitalize your debt, figure out, what's moving the needle, go from C class to B class or A class or both, or, kind of reposition your portfolio, if you will, all around, from the monies to the product, et cetera. I think, I can control my offers out. I can control my deal, what I want to do, what I don't want to do. I think a lot of us got a lot smarter in the last 24 months. There was a lot of slop. We were saying yes to stuff we should have said no to. Everybody in every business I know that made money, they messed up on that part. But guess what? Can't do anything about it now. We can only do something moving forward. We didn't fold. People are folding left and right because it's easier than actually figuring it out. They think they're winning the game because it's part of the system. Yeah, you can do that, but there's no lesson in that for you. We got to hunker down, figure it out, and get resourceful. So I think people's got to get their head out of the sand and get back to the basics, man. I really think that's probably the biggest thing is people are overspending, get back to the basics, know what strategy you're executing on, and just become the best in that game. Be around good people, talking about big stuff, real stuff, helping you move the needle is so important. But I do think the massive opportunities is for you guys to be talking about money, helping people, because you got to remember, we're just talking about us investors right now. But if you don't have a lot of money or you always want more money, all investors always want more money to invest. You should be talking to your audience, your marketplace about the power of investing in real estate, quality, first position, assets that could pay 8, 10, 12%, whatever percentages you guys can do, consistent, residual, et cetera, backed by hard real estate, that's quality. And, that would be a very big beneficial to the prospects that you could talk to, because if they're in the market, they're 62 years old, they're in the market, they lose 10, 20, 30, 40% of their money. Don't think it can't happen. Look at 2008. I mean, it's real. And they don't have time on their side. What they're looking for is consistency and predictability at that age, right? So it's like, hey, I just want my principal safe and I can make a good residual cash flow. I'm good. Not passive, residual, by the way, big difference. So it's a good stream of income for them. The principal's secured and baselined. Obviously, you as an investor have to be professional and responsible with that. That is a very big responsibility. And I think a lot of people are way too loose on that, Tim. Honestly, we've talked about that.
Dude, way too loose. Way too loose. It amazes me how many people I lose sleep. That's the only thing I really lose sleep over is making sure the investors are in good shape.
Yep.
And it's amazing to me how many people just don't care or just completely whatever. Let them take the L. They're big boys, they're big girls. No, dude, they invested in you, not your deal. They invested in you. Yep. You are the reason why they felt confident enough to put money into this deal. Dude, I've lost a lot of money in real estate deals, but I've never lost an investor's money because I've always written a check to make sure they're made whole, even if we took an L on a deal. All right. I'm about to right now. But I need to clear up my team's time and the investors. It's run its life cycle. I'm like, listen, let's write the check. Let's be done with it. It's going to be $1.5 million, but guess what? It's worth it because we have other opportunities that we can make way more than that in if I have my team's focus back over here. And
Yeah,
so,
there's a lot in that. Everything you're saying, one, because you have a long-term vision. Most people have a short-term vision, acting like they have long-term vision. You can tell how deep they're thinking or how long they're thinking based off their activities in that moment. Right? If you're thinking about how not to pay people, you ain't thinking long-term. That's for sure.
yeah,
And not only that is you got to get again, in real estate, you think the hard part is raising the money. Raising the money is when the hard part really starts. Operations, right? I mean, Tim, you know this firsthand, like everyone else. Like, dude, operations where it either is going to make you or break you in real estate or business. By the way, real estate is a business. So, it's interesting to me that these guys raise the money and it's just like, oh, it's going to take care of itself. No, that's actually now we got to work and we got to be very focused because the problem is, well, as you know, and I've been here before, so I'm talking experience. You raise this money, boom, you get this deal. You're so busy going to the next deal, they actually forget about this one. And you're thinking that you put the right people in the place to do the right thing, and they don't do the right thing. And I'm talking about property management, team members, et cetera. And then all of a sudden you look up 7 months later, 7 years later, and you're like, oh my God, this is not good. Mm-hmm. So, and then you got to jump back in. But again, these are not losses, these are lessons, even though it costs money. So writing a check, a lot of people won't do that in real estate because they think that's an isolated deal. Well, it might be an isolated deal on paper, but it's not an isolated deal with where you're going and where your investor could go with you. The best investors you'll have, as you know, man, is longevity.
Yeah, dude, I agree 100%. Well, man, I'm excited for Wednesday's release of the documentary. I'm super pumped to watch.
Is it Wednesday or Thursday? It's the 24th.
It is Thursday.
Thursday. 24th.
Thursday. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thursday, the 24th. And dude, I'm super excited about it. Why or how will it improve people's life? Like not why should people go, but like, dude, they're going to see some unbelievable lessons learned on entrepreneurship, on personal finance, on mindset, on how to raise a family and how to make sure that your kids aren't raised with an entitled mindset, how to embrace gratitude, how to embrace the giving muscle, right? Like there's so many great nuggets in there where it's like, if you're going to go spend your time on something and watching something, this is something that's entertaining, it's educational, and it's inspirational.
Yeah, no, listen, it's always weird watching yourself on the film, right? I mean, you, me, Austin, Terry, Josh, we're all a part of this. And, it takes it's a team effort. Like all of us have great insights and different skill sets and a lot of similarities you guys will see throughout. But again, I want to be the poster child of anybody can do it. Like when you look at it, if you see my face, you're like, if that knucklehead can do it, why can't I? Mm-hmm. Like the odds are against me. The odds are against you. Like there's no reason we should be here except that we decided we'll be there. And by the way, what I'm talking about is mindset, right? I got it. I'm going to be there. I didn't even realize I'd be where I'm at today. My first goal was how to make $100,000 a year. That's all I wanted to do. And then I realized like, wow, I'm thinking way too small. How to make 500,000? Like, so it's like, you got to see that you're not alone. You're not weird. You're not alone. You're not the black sheep. There's other people by the way, everybody that watches this, there's someone that has it 10,000 times harder that's actually accomplished something big in life. So and I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your race is. I don't care. No one cares except you. Trust me. So
that's the truth, man. Like we all spend so much time and energy and concern about that, and nobody gives a shit.
No one cares. Mommy and daddy might, but they might be actually the ones hurting you more than helping you because they've given you this false sense of security, if you will. So I just want people to like go behind the scenes, see what it looks like. They get in your house, they get in my house, they get in Josh's house, they get in Austin's, Terry's. We're not trying to hide anything. We're trying to actually expose and help. This thing costs a couple $100,000 to create. And we're doing it for free because I want to be a light. I want to be a plant. I want to plant seeds with other people like you and I, Tim, how we met, boom, online. Pretty much all my friends at this point have started online for free, right? We've become buddies. We've connected. We're like, shit, if this guy can do it, why can't I? How do we do more together? But it takes time though, time is a very powerful tool. So I just want to share, man. Honestly, I don't have my agenda is to make an impact. That's my agenda.
Dude, and I can tell you guys firsthand, like that is Mark's agenda. It's like he cares more about other people's success than most people care for their own success. It's hard to watch because, dude, you get burned over and over and over again. I've gotten burned so many times trying to help somebody who didn't want to help themselves.
Yeah.
And I think this is an amazing way to put an articulated Netflix style documentary together that weaves in storyline, that weaves in lessons learned in both personal side of things, in the business side of things, and actionable steps that people can then take and implement in their own businesses in order to then achieve that next level, right? At zero cost, right? Like you said, you spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this thing, and tickets are free. So make sure you guys are there. I just put it in the comment section on Facebook. It'll obviously be in the show notes on the podcast as well. And make sure you guys are there. It's April 24th, live release. What time is it?
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Actually, that's when we go live. That's when it goes live. But we'll be there. I'll be there 15 minutes early talking, connecting with people. And then we go live, watch it together. I'll be watching it with my family, Tim and everyone else is. And then goes, after the documentary, we're going to do a live Q&A, Tim, right? I'd love to have you, Josh, Terry, everyone that's a part of it, do question and answer. So if you guys watch it and you're like, wow, that's cool, or I didn't understand this or whatever, like, guys, we're there to serve and help you, but like, you got to show up.
It's amazing to see how many people are registered, right? It's like thousands of people. So
thousands.
Really, really, really cool, man. Well, I appreciate you being here. Proud to be your friend, business partner, and thank you for having me in the documentary, man, and making me famous. So
yeah, exactly. No, man, thank you too as well. Super honored and excited just to be part of this journey. And guys, the time is now. Let's get it started. And I appreciate you having me, Tim. Appreciate you, buddy.
Hey, well, thank you for being here. Hopefully you got a ton of great value out of this episode. We try to give as much free value as possible across all of our social media platforms. So please make sure that you're connected with us. We are at Legacy Wealth on YouTube. We are at Tim Bratz on all other social media platforms. And we're available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. The best way that you can support this podcast is by just subscribing to our YouTube channel, by liking the video, by commenting on it, and by sharing it with anyone else who might get some great value out of it. So thank you again for being here. We'll see you next Sunday on the Legacy Podcast.